Let me ask you a question that might hurt a little. Why is it that you are working harder than ever? Your salary is likely higher than it was 5 years ago, yet you still feel broke. You look at your bank account at the end of the month, and despite the overtime, despite the side hustles, despite the promotions, the numbers just don't seem to stack up. It feels like you are running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. You think the solution is more money. You tell yourself, if I just made another $10,000 a year, then I'd be safe. But here's the brutal truth. It is not a math problem. If you gave a lottery winner $10 million, statistics show they will likely go broke within a few years. Why? Because financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill, where how you behave is more important than what you know. You are not broke because you are bad at math. You are broke because you are human, and human psychology is wired to sabotage your wealth. Today, here on Book Summary Podcast, we are going to fix that. We are decoding The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This isn't about picking stocks or analyzing charts. It is about rewiring the gray matter between your ears so that money finally sticks to you instead of slipping through your fingers. Before we dive into the strategy, remember that a 10-minute summary is just the map, not the territory. The author goes into deep nuances and 19 separate stories that we simply cannot fit here. If you want to truly master this mindset, I have left a link to the full audiobook in the description below. It is often free with an Audible trial. I highly recommend you grab it so you can learn while you commute or work out. Trust me, the original text is a gold mine. Now, let's get into the deep dive. The first major lesson is that wealth is what you don't see. There is a massive, fundamental myth that keeps millions of people poor. The myth is that being rich and being wealthy are the same thing. We use these words interchangeably, but in the psychology of money, they are practically opposites. When you see someone driving a brand new cherry red Ferrari down the street, what is the first thing your brain does? You instinctively think, wow, that guy is rich. You imagine his life. You imagine his bank account. You imagine his success. But the only data point you actually have is that he has $300,000 less than he did before he bought the car. Or even worse, he is $300,000 in debt. We tend to judge wealth by what we see. We see cars, we see homes, we see Instagram photos of vacations in the Maldives. We see distinct designer logos. But that is not wealth. That is rich. Rich is current income. It is the money you have spent to show others that you have money. Wealth, on the other hand, is hidden. Wealth is the nice car not purchased, the diamond not bought, the watches not worn. Wealth is financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff you see. Wealth is an option not yet taken to buy something later. Think of it like diet and exercise. Weight loss is notoriously hard because it requires you to not eat. You can't show off the calories you didn't eat today. You can't post a photo of the restraint you exercised at dinner. It's invisible. Money is the same. It is so hard for us to accumulate wealth because we are social creatures who crave validation. We want to show people we are doing well. But the only way to be wealthy is to stop spending money on things that show people we have money. I want you to pause for a second. I want you to be honest with me in the comments right now. Do you have a purchase in your house, a gadget, a piece of clothing, a car, that you secretly bought just to impress other people? Maybe it was to impress a date, a neighbor, or just to look successful at a reunion. Type guilty in the comments if you've done this. I'll wait a second. This is the man in the car paradox. When you see that guy in the Ferrari, you don't actually care about him. You don't think, I bet he's a nice guy. You think, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. But here is the irony. The guy in the car is thinking the same thing about himself, and nobody cares about him. They are just using him as a mirror for their own fantasies. So here is the action step for this lesson. You need to define your enough. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. If your expectations rise with your results, there is no logic in striving for more, because you'll feel the same after putting in extra effort. It gets dangerous when the taste of having more money increases your ambition faster than your income. Learn to be happy with a lifestyle that costs less than you earn and keep it there, even as you earn more. That gap between your ego and your income, that is where wealth lives. This brings us to the second major lesson. The highest dividend of money is freedom. Let's talk about why we are actually doing this. Why do you want money? The myth is that we want money to buy better stuff, a bigger house, a faster computer, a softer bed. And sure, those things are nice. But the truth, according to Household, is that the greatest intrinsic value of money, and this cannot be overstated, is its ability to give you control over your time. Psychologists have studied happiness for decades, and while they found that having more stuff gives you a very temporary spike in happiness, it fades quickly. You get used to the big house. You get used to the nice car. It's called hedonic adaptation. However, there is one variable that consistently aligns with happiness: the sense of control over your life. Being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is the highest dividend money pays.
Imagine two people. Person A makes $200,000 a year. They are a high-powered lawyer, but they have to be at their desk at 7 a.m., they leave at 9 p.m., they work weekends, and every time their phone buzzes on a Sunday, their stomach drops because it's their boss. They have money, but they have no sovereignty. Person B makes $70,000 a year. They have saved aggressively. They have a runway fund. If they wake up on a Tuesday and decide they are burnt out, they can quit. They can take a lower-paying job that they actually enjoy. They can take 3 months off to visit their parents. Who is actually wealthier? Person A is a slave to their lifestyle. Person B is the master of their time. I want to tell you a story about a man named Derek Sivers, a successful entrepreneur. He once talked about a friend who asked him to be an investor in a startup. The friend said, "We're going to be huge. We're going to IPO. We're going to be rich." Derek looked at him and said, "I don't want to be rich. I just want to be free." The friend didn't understand. He thought they were the same thing. They aren't. Money's greatest return isn't a 10% yield on a stock. It's the ability to wake up and say, "I own this day." Let's do a quick self-audit. I want you to rate your current level of freedom on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is I am a slave to my bills and boss, and 10 is I can do whatever I want today. What is your number? Drop it in the comments. Be real. Seeing these numbers helps us realize we aren't alone in this struggle. The action here is to shift your goal. Stop chasing a net worth number just for the sake of the number. Start chasing a freedom number. Calculate how much money you need to survive for 6 months without a job. That is your first level of freedom. Once you have that, the psychological weight off your shoulders is worth more than any luxury car you could ever buy.
We are halfway through the deep dive. If you are realizing that your mindset has been the bottleneck in your financial life, please hit that subscribe button. We release summaries like this every week to help you get smarter, faster. And remember, if you want the full stories, like the incredible detailed history of the U.S. consumer that Housel breaks down, check the affiliate link for the audiobook in the description. It helps support the channel and gives you the best financial education available. Moving on to the third major lesson. Compounding requires survival. This is perhaps the most technical, but also the most misunderstood concept in the book. The myth is that to make a lot of money, you need to find the next big thing. You need to buy Tesla before it pops. You need to find the next Bitcoin. You need to get the highest returns possible. The truth, you don't need amazing returns. You need pretty good returns that you can sustain for a very, very long time. Compounding is the 8th wonder of the world, but it has a strict requirement. You must survive. Let's look at Warren Buffett. Everyone knows he is rich, but did you know that of his roughly $85 billion net worth, about $81 billion was accumulated after his 65th birthday? If Buffett had started investing at age 30 instead of age 10 and stopped investing at age 60 to play golf, his net worth today wouldn't be $85 billion. It would be roughly $11.9 million. That is 99.9% less. His secret isn't just that he's a good investor. His secret is that he has been investing for 3/4 of a century. He didn't panic sell. He didn't get wiped out. He survived. There is a dark side to this story that Housel tells in the book. We all know Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, but 40 years ago, there was a third partner in their group. His name was Rick Guerin.
Rick was just as smart as Warren and Charlie. In fact, on an IQ test, he might have beaten them. But we don't know Rick Guerin today. Why? Because Rick was in a hurry.
In the 1974 market crash, Buffett and Munger held on. They had cash. They survived. Rick Guerin, however, had used margin, borrowed money, to try and get rich faster. When the market dropped 70%, he received a margin call. He was forced to sell his Berkshire Hathaway shares at the bottom just to pay back his loans. He got wiped out. Warren Buffett later said, "Charlie and I always knew that we would become incredibly wealthy. We were not in a hurry to get there. We knew it would happen. Rick was just as smart as us, but he was in a hurry." This is the lesson of survival. Getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. But keeping money requires the opposite. It requires fear. It requires humility. It requires an acceptance that some of what you have is due to luck, so past success can't be relied upon to repeat indefinitely. You have to be financially unbreakable. If you aim for the highest possible returns, you usually have to take risks that can wipe you out. And if you get wiped out, you interrupt the compounding clock. It is better to get an 8% return for 30 years than a 20% return for 5 years, followed by a total collapse. Does this sound like you? Have you ever taken a risky bet, maybe crypto, maybe a penny stock, because you felt like you were behind and needed to catch up fast? I think we've all been there. It's the Rick Guerin trap. The action step here is to focus on your room for error. In engineering, they build bridges to support 10 times the weight of the trucks that will drive on them. In finance, you need a margin of safety. Do not leverage yourself to the hilt. Keep more cash than you think you need. Cash is not just an asset that loses value to inflation. Cash is the oxygen that lets you survive the fire so you can be around for the recovery. To wrap this up, being broke is often a temporary state of the bank account, but being poor is a state of mind. The psychology of money teaches us that doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Remember the 3 pillars we discussed. First, wealth is what you don't see. Stop trying to look rich so you can actually become wealthy. Second, freedom is the goal. Use money to buy time, not toys. And third, survival enables compounding. Don't rush, don't get wiped out, just stay in the game. If you change your behavior, the numbers will eventually follow. It won't happen overnight, but remember the lesson of Warren Buffett. The biggest results come at the end, not the beginning. This was your summary of the psychology of money. If you want to dive deeper into the nuances of luck, risk, and the history of money, click the link in the description to get the full audiobook. It's a game changer. If you got value from this, please subscribe to Book Summary Podcast. We are building a community of people who are mastering their lives, one book at a time. I'll see you in the next video.